Hello everyone. We are here with Mr. Antonio Feraco from TÜV Sud Asia Pacific, and currently he's working as the Vice President Digital Service, and he's a managing consultant for Industry 4.0 as well. Mr. Feraco, welcome to the summit.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, how was your experience today with the Smart Factory League?
It's fantastic to see that in a small venture like this, there's a lot of insights, a lot of knowledge. I really believe that you choose the right name because it's Smart Factory League.
Yeah.
So there are champions. I would say there are a lot of champions, and it was very interesting to see different aspects of approaching to Industry 4.0, to artificial intelligence, on how several, let's say, technology vendors position their way to help manufacturers to rise, to growth. And I believe there's a need of more events like this to put thought leadership together in order to create more awareness about how people can really embrace the transformation in Industry 4.0.
I would really appreciate your key inputs on the topic that you presented on the summit, which was digital transformation for Industry 4.0, from defining a smart factory vision to making it happen.
Yeah, it's always important for manufacturers or for company operating in the manufacturing sector industry to really understand what is a practical goal that they can achieve. And this should be the first step on how to understand what can I achieve depends on what are the opportunities / challenges that I'm facing currently in my daily operation. That's important because this is where Industry 4.0 or digitalization can really support in automate some routine tasks, in automate flow of data, in automating flow of informations to the level that we can use such information to improve our daily operation, our tasks, and that's important. But it needs to be a structured approach. It's important that everybody understands that technologies within Industry 4.0 or Industry 4.0 itself is not something that you purchase. Is a journey. Is a step-by-step journey. It takes some time. It takes some time to understand where we can improve. It takes some time to understand what are the right technologies and where the technologies should be implemented in our operations. What are the roles and the responsibilities of the technologies themselves, and what is for us the right technology to bring us to the next level. If we want to speak about the different levels of Industry 4.0, they were defined years ago by Acatech, that they basically are starting from what is Industry 3.0 for basically connectivity, computerization, connectivity, and then they move to digitalization, visibility, transparency, predictivity, and then adaptability. If we see these as the different steps of our journey, we also need to understand what does make business sense for a manufacturer to achieve. Where is my optimal point, my optimal level of performance? So there's many aspects that needs to be considered carefully and translated in the structured approach. The implementation of such technology, what efficiency will bring to me? Is it worth the investment? How can I quantify this investment? When I'll get my ROI? And then moving to the implementation, who's the person responsible within my company to make sure that the implementation of the specific technology is successful? Who will work together with the sponsor? Who will work together with the technology vendor? Who will work together in an holistic way, in an holistic approach? We saw a lot of companies approaching Industry 4.0 digitalization with a very siloed mindset. What I mean is that people from the warehouse, they face the challenges and they wanted the solutions that solves their own challenge. But they were not thinking, okay, if I solve this, what will be the impact on other operations like sales or like scheduling and planning or like on production? So the holistic approach is what is missing. We have customers who basically collected more than 40 different digital initiatives globally, but they didn't think about what could be the touch points, what could be the handshakes between the different technology to provide a full optimal impact on the overall performance of the company.
So actually, when you're talking about the process of integrating various things together and talking on a more on a holistic approach, like you said, uh, one of the things that really intrigued me from your case studies, which you mentioned, was uh, that companies should have a habit rather than just working on an inclusive mindset to have more of an exclusive mindset, which basically translates to Industry 4.0 is not just the integration of processes within the manufacturing, but in the entire supply chain.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
there's what we call horizontal integration, which is also one of the dimensions that belongs to the so developed Smart Industry Readiness Index. So we apply this index to more than 300, 400 plus manufacturers globally. And one of the key dimensions is what we call horizontal integration, is how the manufacturing plant itself or the company itself is integrated with all the stakeholders of the value chain. How do we exchange information with the raw material suppliers, with the inbound logistics, outbound logistics, and point of sales or end customers? How can we make sure that the supply chain is strong enough to curb unexpected events like the latest pandemic happened? How can we make sure that we are resilient also in the supply chain? How can we make sure that the reaction of our suppliers is fast enough to not impact on my ability of making my customers satisfied? And nowadays we are facing some of these gaps in the semicon industry, in the microelectronics industry, because there's a shortage. So a lot of companies are facing this not, let's say, integrated supply chain they didn't think previously, and now we have some consequences. And this and a cascade impacts on many other sectors.
So when you're talking about all these issues which are popping up in the industry of late, and COVID, of course, not to mention the obvious problems for so many companies around the world, as I understand, TÜV Süd has been working for more than 300 projects around the globe. And working throughout all those projects, or any insights that you would have from those projects, and keeping those insights in mind, what, in your case, what were the kind of problems in the traditional supply chain system? And in your experience, what could be the key ways to avoid them in the AI-supported supply chain system?
Well, we, as I mentioned earlier, we assessed that we worked together with more than 400 companies globally in understanding what is their maturity level in terms of Industry 4.0. With all these manufacturers, we realized that one of the common challenge to all of them was the ability of having a common taxonomy, an ability of understanding what we refer to Industry 4.0 is the same understanding for each operators within the plant. When we speak about cloud-based technologies, that we refer to the specific technologies. And what does it mean, clouds? When we speak about artificial intelligence, that they understand what is artificial intelligence and what could be the benefits for them if there are some benefits. If it's worth for them embracing some artificial intelligence, or for the moment being, just having some advanced analytics. So where does this play a role? And the biggest challenge was the lack of a common understanding. And if people don't speak the same language, when you go to project implementation, technology implementation, you will face barriers on the utility. Exactly. You invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources, and then if there's no common understanding on the other side for the end users, you're wasting a good percentage of what you invested previously. Other challenges that we face, it was like the increase, the large amount of human intervention needed in the transfer of data. And this is something that requires a lot of effort from the different operators, which also embeds the possibility of having some mistakes, because when are the humans to input the data, there's always the risks. And also this doesn't allow a seamless flow of the information. between the different levels. So the visibility of the shop floor was one of the biggest challenges. Other challenges is like the way that we were communicating with the external stakeholders, using email or using phone call. This is not a really automated way of exchanging the information.
Right.
Sharing is caring, they used to say back in Singapore, and also helps to optimize more to improve the agility of the manufacturers in the terms, if I use some EDI technologies or if I give to some of my suppliers the ability of seeing what are my stocks level within my warehouse management system, automatically a trigger can come out and invite them to provide me more suppliers, because from the scheduling and planning I know that the next 2 months will be dedicated to X amount of production for customer X. So all this sort of integration internally and externally is not there yet, and it represents opportunity or slash challenges in all these manufacturers.
Totally understand now. So actually also based on what you just said, if I can deduce in a way that a common understanding between all the layers of management or even up to the workforce on the shop floor level works kind of like the ozone layer of the entire transformation process, if I could say that. Understanding and the fluid information flow, and just like openness, and also people should be able to expect and forecast the needs and how it's going to be in the future, and aligning the goals accordingly.
With a common understanding, common taxonomy of common language, having there will be much more easier communication exchange between the different business functions of the manufacturers.
Right, great. So as we are talking a lot about transformation, and of course you have had massive experience in this field, and you're talking about Industry 4.0. So in your case studies, you had discussions about the pillars of transformation. So if you could elaborate more on that, the 3 pillars of transformation.
Yeah, more than the pillars of transformation, I would define them as the 3 building blocks to track your transformation in Industry 4.0. These are also the 3 building blocks of the Smart Industry Readiness Index. And these 3 building blocks are the processes, are the technologies, and are the organization. The first building block entitles to basically 3 main pillars. The vertical integration, which is basically how do the data flow from the shop floor until the business process, until the ERP level. Is it one-way flow? It's two-way flow? Where does this data arrive? The horizontal integration, as earlier mentioned, is like how are we integrated with the stakeholder of the value chain. Then there's the integrated product life cycle, which is another very important process, and it's like how our R&D design functions are exchanging or integrating the information with the engineering, and then how then the engineering transfer this to the production in order to optimize the overall time to market, or time to deliver it, or NPIs, KPIs, and then we move to the other building block, which is the technologies. What important characteristics are we going to understand within the technology space? Is like, what is the level of automation, the ability of executing tasks? Are we in basic automation, advanced automation, full level of automation? What is the level of connectivity in between the different system and platforms in the plant? Are these systems interoperable, or they just staying on the same internet without exchanging information? And then what is the level of intelligence? Is it just visible that we are able to understand there's a symptoms that can cause a delay in the production or downtime in the machine? Are we also able to understand what could be the root cause of this symptom, and how can we predict or avoid this to happen? And we do this on the shop floor level, where the production of goods takes place, on the enterprise level, where all administrative tasks like HR, finance, sales and marketing takes place, and for the facility level, all the utilities that are necessary for the production to take place. The last building block is what I call the human building block, or the organization building block. Try to understand or to focus on how do we train our people? What is the current knowledge that all the operators, head of departments or functional manager have about Industry 4.0? Do they understand what AI is? But do they also know where and how to apply AI in their own processes and what will be the benefits? And then also, is there a clear plan to reach plan of the future or not? Or need some sort of clear strategy to achieve the goal that has been the goals shared by the HQ? And also how the different business functions collaborate together. So understanding where we are in all these different pillars give us a starting point, or also give us some more insights on how we can plan the transformation or moving to the next level.
That makes a lot of sense, I think, because I was mentioning about the pillars of transformation, and I would cross that out, and I would say building blocks for transformation. But moving from building blocks of transformation, and you spoke about AI as well. So, and you were discussing about levels of AI in your case study as well. We all understand, we all know about artificial intelligence. It's around us, and if it's not around us in a practical form, but definitely in a verbal form, it's definitely there. And I recall a funny anecdote from today morning's speech by Mr. Ilya from Hitachi, where he was saying how many kilos of AI we need.
Yeah.
So how do you look at the levels of AI?
How do you look at the levels of AI? I'm not sure if we can define the presence of different levels of AI. We need always to be conscious about where do we implement the AI, for which processes are we going to implement AI. And if we are going to implement AI, are we sure that we've been taking care of all the different stages of this AI implementation, starting from the development of the algorithm themselves to the whole life cycle of the data? We need always to be sure that we will not have or will not cause any pitfall like we saw in the history. In the history, there are many pitfalls of AI. I don't want to share a lot of them, but there was some chatbot who started to be racist towards the public, and then immediately is taken out after 24 hours from Twitter, for example. So we need to be sure that pillars like legal aspects, pillars like ethics aspects of AI, productivity, quality, and security, these pillars are met in each single stage of the development. Within TÜV SÜD, we developed what we call the Artificial Intelligence Quality Management System, which is a sort of risk management approach, and also understand how is the quality being taken care during the full phase of development. This to help company to avoid that the data analyze, provide output that we don't want. And within the years, AI will take always more and more responsibilities on the decision making. So this is why it's very important also that we take care of this from the initial development and for the full life cycle.
But yeah, I'll have to say this is like a really, really interesting insight coming from you, and there's a lot of knowledge over here that I can see. I feel like a free flow of the knowledge, and I'm really lucky. I think I can hear you speaking like that. At the same time, I think it will be even more interesting and intriguing to know what are the future plans for TÜV SÜD as a company.
TÜV SÜD, as you know, is one of the leader globally in testing, inspection, and certification, and we will continue to do our best to serve our customers, to get new customers, to assure that they meet all the quality standards needed to operate in the market. On the other side, we are also aware of the fact that we need to transform the traditional method of delivering the services in a more digital way. So also TÜV SÜD is going through internal processes of digitalization of our own services. Within this, let's say, big organization, I'm part of the digital service, which is in charge of incubating new technologies, of developing new technology to support this transformation internally, as well as also to help external customers to approach the digital technologies. Our vision is basically transforming, like for example, inspection activities from a scheduled basis or yearly basis, let's say, to a permanent way of assessing that this is something in line with the expectation. And now to do this, if you imagine that in the future manufacturers will have sensors that are basically sharing the health of the assets or other sort of parameters, this can also provide a continuous information for us to keep in assessing. Again, this is a journey. This will take some times, but I believe that we are also spending a lot of effort in innovating some of the processes, like remote auditing, using VR, AR glasses, using support with new technologies available. This is something already been tested, and then we are already starting to run. So I believe that we are in the process also of digitalizing the full services that we are basically delivering, and we want to continue to be at the top of the market.
Definitely, and we would all like to see that happening actually in the future as well.
Yeah, and it's important, very important that we are putting a very strong emphasis on the sustainability aspects. So that is also one of the most important, let's say, objectives that we will pursue. We are pursuing, and we're also offering a lot of services in this space to help manufacturers to structure their approach to sustainability.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for your talks, and I really hope to see you again on the summit.
Thank you.
Hopefully you took some important points with you or things to apply back in your work, and we hope to also develop the agenda even more with a lot of special topics which were actually expressed by many attendees that they should have been present in more of again the holistic point of view, plus also in a more specialized manner. For example, when it comes to people and culture transformation, because we can talk about AI, robotics, but also the people factor has to be as well discussed. And culture transformation is another added challenge when we talk about people. So hopefully we will meet again, like I said.
Thanks you so much. Thank you so much to all organizer. It was a very, very nice event, and hopefully we will see you again to the next one.
Thank you as well.
Thanks.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.